when his tortured creative artist period is over.
I know what you mean.
In the early 1970s, the Partridge Family brought music, color, and joy into millions of homes. With their catchy songs and bright smiles, they seemed like the perfect family, riding from town to town in their vibrant bus, chasing dreams and spreading happiness. But behind the cheerful tunes and staged laughter, the real lives of the actors told a much deeper, more complicated story. The show made stars out of its cast almost overnight. David Cassidy became a global sensation. Shirley Jones embodied grace and strength, and the younger actors captured the hearts of America. But fame has a cost. Away from the cameras, many of these actors faced private struggles, heartbreaking scandals, personal losses, and painful battles that the audience never saw. Today, when we look back at the Partridge Family, we see not just the colorful fantasy they created, but the bittersweet reality behind it. Some found lasting fame. Others disappeared from the spotlight. Some fought silent battles with addiction, illness, or personal demons. And some, sadly, have left us, their stories ending far too soon or in tragic ways. What really happened to the beloved faces we once knew so well? Who soared beyond the show's success, and who struggled to move on? Who masked personal agony behind the curtain of celebrity? In this video, we will explore the real lives of the deceased actors who made the Partridge Family unforgettable. Their stories are filled with triumph and tragedy, secrets and scandals, dreams fulfilled and dreams lost. Stay with us. And don't forget to subscribe for more emotional journeys into the lives of the stars we thought we knew. Because behind every smile was a story worth telling. David Cassidy was born on April 12, 1950, into a family already touched by fame. His father, Jack Cassidy, was a successful actor, and his mother, Evelyn Ward, a talented actress. From the moment he entered the world, David was surrounded by the glow of show business, but also by the shadows it cast. Raised mainly by his grandparents after his parents' divorce, young David learned early that appearances could be deceiving and that the world of fame came with a heavy price. When he joined the Partridge Family in 1970, David was just 20 years old. Originally cast because of his good looks and musical ability, few could have predicted the phenomenon he would become. As Keith Partridge, the dreamy lead singer and guitarist of the family band, David rocketed to unimaginable stardom. Within months, he wasn't just a TV actor. He was a global teen idol, with legions of fans, sold-out concerts, platinum records, and a name that echoed from America to Japan. His image was everywhere, from lunchboxes to bedroom posters, making him one of the most recognized faces of the 1970s. But behind the adoring screams and flashing cameras, David Cassidy was crumbling. He felt trapped in an image he never truly wanted. Beneath the shiny pop veneer, he longed to be taken seriously as a musician, a songwriter, an artist. The fame that millions envied felt, to him, like a prison. His relationship with his father, Jack Cassidy, was strained and complex, leaving deep emotional scars. As he struggled to redefine himself after the Partridge Family ended, David battled depression, alcoholism, and financial troubles that haunted him for decades. His career after the show was a roller coaster of brief triumphs and devastating lows. He continued to make music, to tour, to act. But the weight of his early fame often overshadowed everything he tried to build. Publicly, he faced multiple DUI arrests and declared bankruptcy in 2015. Privately, he fought a losing battle against dementia, a disease that stole his memory, his dignity, and ultimately his life. On November 21st, 2017, David Cassidy died at the age of 67, leaving behind a bittersweet legacy. He had once captured the world's heart with his voice and smile, but in the end, he became a stark reminder of how fleeting and cruel fame can be. Even today, when we hear, "I think I love you," it's impossible not to remember the boy who wanted nothing more than to be loved for who he really was. Not for the poster, not for the dream, but for the soul behind it. Suzanne Crowe was born on March 6, 1963, in Fullerton, California. As the youngest member of the Partridge family, she was just a little girl when she charmed audiences as Tracy Partridge, the shy tambourine player with big eyes and an even bigger smile. At only 7 years old, when she joined the show, Suzanne quickly became America's little sister, a beloved part of the musical family that millions wished they could join. Unlike some of her co-stars, Suzanne's path after the Partridge Family was quiet and modest. She appeared in a few small roles after the show ended, but eventually stepped away from Hollywood altogether. She focused on her education, earned a degree, and built a private life far from the chaos of the entertainment world. She married, raised 2 daughters, and ran a bookstore, choosing a life of normalcy that so few child stars ever find. But even as she left fame behind, Suzanne remained a cherished memory for fans who grew up with her gentle presence on screen. Tragically, her life was cut short far too soon. On April 27, 2015, Suzanne Crowe passed away from a rare heart condition called cardiomyopathy. She was just 52 years old. Her death shocked fans who still remembered her as the sweet little girl with the tambourine. Forever frozen in time, Suzanne's story is a quiet but powerful reminder that sometimes those who seem to escape the spotlight's harsh glare still cannot escape the fragility of life. She may have left Hollywood behind, but she never left our hearts. Dave Madden was born on December 17, 1931, in Sarnia, Ontario, Canada, but grew up in Terre Haute, Indiana. Before he ever dreamed of being on television, he faced a lonely and challenging childhood. After a bicycle accident at a young age left him injured, he found solace in magic and comedy, the beginnings of a career that would one day make him beloved by millions. When the Partridge Family began, Dave Madden stepped into the role of Reuben Kincaid, the band's often flustered, always lovable manager. His dry wit, sarcastic delivery, and unlikely chemistry with the kids, especially with Danny Bonaduce, made him an instant favorite. Reuben was the glue that kept the Partridges moving, even when the colorful bus seemed ready to fall apart. Yet off-screen, Dave was known for being quiet, deeply private, and sometimes weighed down by the loneliness that often haunts comedians. After the show ended, Dave continued acting, finding success with roles in series like Alice and making frequent appearances on game shows. Yet despite his recognizable face and voice, he struggled with personal demons, including a painful divorce that left emotional scars. In later years, Dave withdrew from the Hollywood spotlight. He settled into a quieter life, far from the cameras and the pressure of fame. On January 16, 2014, Dave Madden passed away from congestive heart and kidney failure at the age of 82. Though gone, he left behind a legacy of laughter and heart. To fans, he will always be Reuben, the manager who believed in a family's impossible dream and somehow made it real. Gordon Jump was born on April 1, 1932, in Dayton, Ohio. Before he became a familiar face on television, he lived a quiet life, working in radio and stage acting, dreaming of something bigger. His gentle demeanor and warm voice would eventually make him one of the most recognizable authority figures in American TV, even if many never knew his name. On The Partridge Family, Gordon Jump played several small roles: a cop, a hotel manager, a helpful figure in the background of the Partridge Family's chaotic adventures. While he was not a regular, his appearances added a sense of stability and humor, a steady hand in a show often filled with youthful energy and colorful chaos. But it was after The Partridge Family that Gordon Jump truly found his greatest fame. He became the beloved Arthur "Big Guy" Carlson on WKRP in Cincinnati, a role that fit him like a glove. Audiences loved his bumbling, lovable portrayal of a radio station manager. It cemented his legacy in television history. Despite his success, Gordon remained grounded and humble, a man more interested in family and faith than Hollywood glitz. His kindness was legendary among his peers, a man who carried none of the ego that often comes with fame. On September 22, 2003, Gordon Jump passed away at the age of 71 due to pulmonary fibrosis. Though his roles were often small, the warmth he brought to every character made a lasting impression. To those who grew up watching him, Gordon Jump will always be the familiar, comforting face that made even the most chaotic stories feel a little more safe, a little more real. Gary Dubin was born on May 5, 1959, in Los Angeles, California, a city where dreams and heartbreak often walk hand in hand. As a child actor, Gary had an energy and mischievous charm that made him perfect for the small but memorable role of Punky Laser on the Partridge Family, Danny Partridge's cheeky best friend, always ready to stir up trouble and laughter. At just 12 years old when he joined the show, Gary was already a familiar face to keen-eyed viewers. His boyish grin and quick delivery made Punky a standout side character, adding extra layers of humor to the Partridge Family's adventures. Though his time on the show was brief, his presence captured a spirit of childhood mischief that many fans still remember fondly. After the Partridge Family, Gary continued working sporadically in television and voice acting. One of his more surprising credits includes providing a voice for one of the children in the classic animated film The Aristocats and appearing in Jaws 2. However, like many child actors, Gary found it difficult to maintain a strong foothold in Hollywood as he grew older. The spotlight that once seemed so close gradually faded. In later years, Gary lived a quieter life, largely stepping away from acting. His death on October 8, 2016, at the age of 57 from bone cancer came as a quiet, somber note to fans who still remembered the lively boy who once lit up the screen. Gary Dubin's story is one of early promise, fleeting fame, and a reminder of how easily young stars can slip away from the public eye, but never from the memories of those who watched them shine. Rosemary DeCamp was born on November 14, 1910, in Prescott, Arizona, long before Hollywood had fully shaped its golden era. From an early age, she carried a grace and intelligence that would later make her a natural choice for motherly and nurturing roles across film and television. In the Partridge Family, Rosemary DeCamp appeared as Grandma Amanda Renfrew, a sweet, steadying presence in the whirlwind life of the musical family. Though her appearances were limited, her warmth brought a touch of real-world heart to the colorful, sometimes chaotic world of the Partridges. Audiences instantly felt a sense of comfort whenever she stepped into a scene, like a reminder of the real family connections behind the fame and fantasy. Her career, however, stretched far beyond the Partridge Family. Rosemary had already made her mark in Hollywood with memorable roles in classic films like Yankee Doodle Dandy and On Moonlight Bay, and she was a familiar face to TV viewers from series such as The Life of Riley and That Girl. She embodied the ideal of the dependable, loving mother or grandmother figure, a role she carried both on and off the screen. Off camera, Rosemary lived a relatively scandal-free life, a rarity in the turbulent world of entertainment. She was married to her husband, John Ashton Scheidler, for 57 years, a love story that stood quietly in contrast to the dramatic lives of many of her Hollywood peers. On February 20th, 2001, Rosemary DeCamp passed away at the age of 90 from pneumonia. She left behind a legacy not built on scandal or sensationalism, but on consistent, heartfelt performances that span generations. In a world that often craves the dramatic, Rosemary DeCamp reminded us that true strength sometimes lies in being a quiet, steady light. Mitzi Hoag was born on September 25, 1932, in New York City, a spirited young woman with big dreams far from the glittering lights of Hollywood. Though she never sought the spotlight in the way some actors did, her talent and subtle strength shone through every role she touched. On The Partridge Family, Mitzi Hoag appeared in multiple guest roles, such as Miss Farrow and Mrs. Ferguson, often portraying teachers or authority figures who brought an air of both sternness and compassion to the family storylines. Her presence, though often in smaller parts, added depth and authenticity to the whimsical world of the Partridges, grounding the show's lighter moments with a touch of real-world seriousness. Outside of The Partridge Family, Mitzi had a long and steady television career. She appeared in iconic series such as The Facts of Life, Family Ties, and The Waltons. Though she never became a household name, She was a respected and dependable actress who built her career on consistency rather than headlines. There were no scandals, no messy tabloid stories, just a quiet dedication to her craft. In her private life, Mitzi was known as kind, intelligent, and fiercely independent. She valued privacy over fame, a choice that gave her peace even as many of her contemporaries struggled with the burdens of celebrity. Mitzi Hoag passed away on February 26, 2019, at the age of 86. Though she may not have had the star power of the leading names, her steady contributions left an invisible yet lasting mark on the golden age of television. She was proof that sometimes the most important parts of a story are told by those who stand just outside the spotlight. Joseph V. Perry was born on February 13, 1931, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He wasn't the kind of actor who chased headlines or celebrity glamour, but he became one of those recognizable faces that audiences welcomed again and again across their favorite shows. In the Partridge Family, Joseph V. Perry played several minor but memorable characters, Mr. Jenkins, a police sergeant, and others, often showing up when the family's adventures needed a little reality check. With his warm but commanding presence, he brought a touch of grounded humor and seriousness to the often whimsical world of the Partridges. Even in small roles, he left a lasting impression. Beyond the Partridge Family, Joseph's career was marked by steady, reliable work. He appeared in beloved series like Perry Mason, The Rockford Files, and Columbo. A true character actor, he had the kind of face that made you feel like you had known him for years, even if you couldn't quite remember where you first saw him. Off-screen, Joseph lived a quiet, private life, far removed from Hollywood's noisy gossip columns. There were no grand scandals, no controversies, just a man who loved acting and did it with dignity until the end. Joseph V. Perry passed away on February 23, 2000, at the age of 76. Though he never played a leading role, he became part of the fabric of classic television. One of those essential supporting players without whom the magic simply wouldn't happen. His legacy is a reminder that every great story needs its quiet heroes, standing just behind the spotlight. Ray Bolger was born on January 10, 1904, in Dorchester, Massachusetts. Long before he ever graced the Partridge Family as Grandpa Fred Renfrew and Grandpa Walter Renfrew, Ray had already carved his place in Hollywood history. To generations, he was the Scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz, a role that immortalized his boundless energy, rubbery limbs, and pure-hearted charm. When Ray appeared in the Partridge Family, he brought with him not just talent, but a sense of timeless magic. As a grandfather figure, his warmth leapt off the screen. His performances were filled with the same gentle humor and lively spirit that had once led Dorothy down the yellow brick road. In a show centered around music and family, Ray's presence felt like a bridge to the golden age of Hollywood itself. But behind the effortless dance steps and bright-eyed smiles, Ray Bolger was a perfectionist. He worked tirelessly to master his craft, blending dance, acting, and comedy into a style all his own. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Ray managed to avoid the scandals and pitfalls of fame, building a career based on hard work, dedication, and a sincere love for the art of performance. Ray lived a long and full life, but even legends must eventually take their final bow. On January 15, 1987, he passed away at the age of 83 from bladder cancer. His death marked the end of an era, but the light he left behind never dimmed. For fans of the Partridge Family and beyond, Ray Bolger remains a symbol of pure joy, a reminder that even in a world filled with hardship, there are still those rare souls who seem born simply to make others smile. Bert Convy was born on July 23, 1933, in St. Louis, Missouri. Blessed with good looks, a dazzling smile, and a natural charisma, Bert seemed destined for the spotlight. Before his television fame, he pursued a career in music, even singing with the vocal group The Cheers, but acting was where he truly shined. In the Partridge Family, Bert made appearances as Richard Lawrence and Dr. Waylander. slipping seamlessly into the world of the colorful musical family. Though his roles were guest spots, Bert's easy charm and sharp wit left a lasting impression, offering a spark that fit perfectly into the show's blend of humor and heart. Outside of the Partridge Family, Bert Convy built a varied career that spanned acting, singing, and game show hosting. He became a beloved figure on television, hosting popular shows like Tattletales and Super Password. To viewers, Bert was the embodiment of sunny, effortless charm, always smiling, always seemingly at ease. But behind the bright image, there were struggles Bert kept private. In 1990, at the height of his career, he was diagnosed with a brain tumor. Even as his health declined, he remained poised and graceful, rarely speaking publicly about his illness. It was a shocking reminder that behind even the brightest smiles, pain often lingers unseen. Bert Convy passed away on July 15, 1991, at the age of just 57. His death saddened fans who remembered him not only for his talent, but for the warmth he brought into their living rooms. In a world often hungry for scandal and sensation, Bert's legacy remains one of genuine kindness and a life that, while cut too short, left millions smiling. Maxine Stewart was born on June 28, 1918, in Deal, New Jersey. Her career, like many of her performances, was built quietly but powerfully, without the loud headlines or glamorous fanfare that often accompany Hollywood fame. Yet for those who paid attention, Maxine was a master at making even the smallest roles unforgettable. In The Partridge Family, Maxine Stewart appeared in multiple guest roles, including Gloria Hofstetter and Miss Halstead. With her steady presence and natural ease, she brought depth and humanity to every character she portrayed. She had the rare gift of making even a passing scene feel authentic, adding emotional weight to the show's lighthearted world. Long before her appearances with the Partridges, Maxine had already made her mark in entertainment. She was part of the legendary early days of television, appearing in shows like The Twilight Zone, and she continued acting well into her 80s. A nomination for an Emmy Award later in life showed that her talents only deepened with age. Off-screen, Maxine lived a modest, dignified life. There were no scandals, no sensational headlines, just a woman deeply devoted to her craft. She navigated the rough waters of Hollywood with resilience and quiet determination, earning respect from those lucky enough to work alongside her. Maxine Stewart passed away on June 6, 2013, at the remarkable age of 94. Hers was a life defined not by flashy success, but by steady, meaningful contribution. In a world that often rewards the loudest voices, Maxine proved that sometimes the most lasting impact is made with grace, skill, and quiet strength. Vic Tayback was born on January 6, 1930, in Brooklyn, New York, the son of Syrian immigrants who taught him the value of hard work and perseverance. With a strong build, booming voice, and commanding presence, Vic seemed destined to play tough guys, but behind the gruff exterior was a man of surprising warmth and humor. On The Partridge Family, Vic Tayback appeared in various roles like Harlan Laws and Ingram, often portraying stern or intimidating figures who, underneath the surface, had a surprising softness. His characters added tension and drama to the show's otherwise sunny adventures, providing just enough grit to make the sweetness shine even brighter. Vic found his greatest fame outside of The Partridge Family with his unforgettable portrayal of Mel Sharples, the grumpy but lovable diner owner in Alice. His performance earned him an Emmy nomination and made him a television icon of the 1970s and 80s. Audiences loved him not because he was polished or perfect, but because he felt real, a little rough around the edges, but with a good heart buried underneath. Off-screen, Vic was known for being generous, funny, and fiercely loyal to his friends and family. He never let his tough guy image define who he was in real life. Sadly, Vic Tayback's life was cut short when he suffered a fatal heart attack on May 25, 1990, at the age of 60. His passing left a void in Hollywood's landscape of character actors, the ones who didn't just play parts but brought them vividly to life. Vic Tayback remains a reminder that sometimes the strongest exterior hides the kindest soul. Harry Morgan was born on April 10th, 1915, in Detroit, Michigan. With a face that seemed carved by time and a voice that carried both authority and kindness, Harry became one of the most beloved character actors in American television history. In The Partridge Family, he appeared in memorable guest roles like Cal and Willie Larkin. Even with limited screen time, Harry's performances brought a sense of stability and authenticity. His characters, often older and wiser, seemed to anchor the swirling energy of the Partridge family's adventures. Of course, Harry Morgan's career stretched far beyond his brief time with the Partridges. He was an essential part of iconic series like Dragnet and MASH*, where his portrayal of Colonel Sherman Potter won him an Emmy Award and the hearts of millions. Audiences saw in him a rare combination of firmness, wit, and humanity that few actors could master so effortlessly. Off-screen, Harry led a relatively quiet and steady life, free from the chaos that often accompanies fame. Though he faced personal challenges, including a highly publicized domestic dispute late in life, his reputation as a consummate professional and a deeply respected colleague remained intact. Harry Morgan passed away on December 7th, 2011, at the incredible age of 96. His career had spanned more than 6 decades, a testament to both his talent and his ability to evolve with the changing tides of Hollywood. Today, Harry is remembered not just for his many roles, but for the deep, unshakable sense of trust he inspired in every character he played. In a world that constantly shifted, Harry Morgan was the steady hand we could always count on. Stuart Margolin was born on January 31st, 1940, in Davenport, Iowa. With a twinkle in his eye and a mischievous charm that could turn even the smallest part into something unforgettable, Stuart carved out a career as one of television's most magnetic character actors. In The Partridge Family, Stuart appeared in roles like Hank and Snake, characters who brought a little more grit and unpredictability to the show's cheerful world. Though his appearances were brief, Stuart's natural ability to command attention made his characters feel larger than life, even in a series known for its sunny innocence. Outside of The Partridge Family, Stuart achieved greater fame as Evelyn Angel Martin on The Rockford Files, a role that earned him 2 Emmy Awards. He had a knack for playing lovable rogues, men who bent the rules but somehow still captured your heart. There was always something a little mysterious, a little dangerous about Stuart's characters, and that was exactly what made him so fascinating to watch. Off-screen, Stuart led a creative life filled with directing, writing, and even music. He was a deeply thoughtful man, known for his intelligence and artistic curiosity. Unlike many of his peers, Stuart managed to avoid major scandals, focusing instead on quietly building a career that spanned more than 5 decades. Stuart Margolin passed away on December 12th, 2022, at the age of 82. His loss was a quiet heartbreak for fans who had loved his sly humor and unpredictable spirit. Though he often played the sidekick or the troublemaker, Stuart Margolin was, in truth, the kind of actor who made every scene he entered feel just a little more alive and a little harder to forget. Richard Mulligan was born on November 13th, 1932, in New York City. With his wiry frame, expressive face, and a comedic timing that felt almost effortless, Richard was a rare kind of actor, one who could make you laugh and break your heart all in the same moment. In The Partridge Family, he appeared as Dr. Jim Lucas and Howard Lipton, bringing a slightly offbeat, unpredictable energy to the family's colorful world. Though his roles were limited, Richard's knack for blending humor with humanity made his characters stand out even among the vibrant cast. After The Partridge Family, Richard Mulligan's career blossomed. He won an Emmy Award for his role as the bumbling yet lovable Burt Campbell on Soap, and later another for his portrayal of the kindly yet eccentric Dr. Harry Weston on Empty Nest. His gift was making flawed, quirky characters seem utterly real and achingly relatable. Off-screen, Richard was known as a private, thoughtful man, far removed from the loud world of Hollywood scandals. He valued his work deeply, but struggled at times with the pressures of fame and the ever-changing tides of the industry. On September 26, 2000, Richard Mulligan passed away at the age of 67 after a battle with cancer. His death robbed the world of an actor who never played it safe, who always sought to find the delicate truth inside every role, no matter how absurd or comedic. Richard Mulligan's legacy is not just one of laughter, but of empathy, of reminding audiences that even the most eccentric souls have stories worth hearing. Arte Johnson was born on January 20th, 1929, in Benton Harbor, Michigan. With his mischievous grin, twinkling eyes, and razor-sharp timing, Arte had a unique ability to steal the spotlight with just a glance or a perfectly timed word. In the Partridge Family, Arte appeared in roles like Morris Tinkler and Nicholas Minsky-Pushkin, injecting his signature quirky energy into the show's already vibrant world. Even in small roles, Arte's performances crackled with life, always hinting at a deeper, hilarious madness lurking just beneath the surface. Before and after his appearances on The Partridge Family, Arte Johnson had already carved out a legendary place in television history. He became a household name thanks to his unforgettable work on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, where his outrageous characters, particularly the sly German soldier who declared, "Very interesting," became part of American pop culture. Off-screen, Arte was much more reserved than his wild television persona suggested, a lover of literature, history, and quiet moments. He lived a life far richer and more complex than many fans ever realized. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Arte avoided major scandal, focusing instead on his craft and a lasting marriage that spanned decades. On July 3, 2019, Arte Johnson passed away at the age of 90 after a long battle with cancer. His death marked the end of an era of comedy that was at once clever, daring, and wickedly fun. Arte's genius wasn't just in making people laugh. It was in making them remember. A master of creating characters who were both absurd and strangely human, Arte Johnson's mischievous spirit continues to echo through every sly smile and unexpected laugh he left behind. Jackie Coogan was born on October 26, 1914, in Los Angeles, California. Before most children even learned to read, Jackie was already one of the most famous faces in the world. As a young boy, he starred alongside Charlie Chaplin in The Kid, instantly becoming Hollywood's first true child superstar. Decades later, in The Partridge Family, Jackie appeared in roles like Grandpa Walter Renfrew and Max Pepper. His warm, familiar face brought a nostalgic charm to the show, reminding viewers of a time when Hollywood itself was still young. His presence added a richness, a sense of history that deepened the family dynamic in subtle, beautiful ways. Jackie's life, however, was far from a fairy tale. As a child star, he earned millions, but shockingly, most of his fortune was squandered by his mother and stepfather. The betrayal led to the creation of the Coogan Act, a law designed to protect the earnings of young performers. Despite this early heartbreak, Jackie soldiered on, serving honorably in World War II and later reinventing himself as a beloved character actor. Many fans also remember him for his unforgettable role as Uncle Fester in The Addams Family, a character so iconic it nearly eclipsed his earlier fame. Through it all, Jackie carried a resilience and humor that made him beloved across generations. Jackie Coogan passed away on March 1st, 1984, at the age of 69 from heart failure. His life was a tapestry of triumph and tragedy, fame and loss, but ultimately one of perseverance. Jackie's legacy is not just that of a star, but of a survivor, a boy who grew up under the harshest lights and somehow found his way back to the simple joy of making people smile. Lawrence Haddon was born on October 25, 1922, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Never one to seek the spotlight, Lawrence built his career as one of those indispensable actors who made television's biggest shows feel authentic, real, and lived in. On The Partridge Family, he portrayed characters like Coach Dawson and Sergeant Sizemore, often appearing as the authority figures that the Partridges encountered during their many adventures. While his roles were small, Lawrence brought to them a sense of believability that helped ground the show's sometimes whimsical plots. His face was familiar, even if his name wasn't always known by the average viewer. Beyond the Partridge Family, Lawrence worked steadily in television throughout the 60s, 70s, and 80s, appearing in iconic series like Perry Mason, The Twilight Zone, and Murder, She Wrote. He had that rare gift, the ability to slip into a character so effortlessly that you forgot you were watching an actor at all. In many ways, he embodied the unsung heroes of Hollywood, those who build their careers not on fame, but on reliability and craft. Off-screen, Lawrence lived a quiet, dignified life, free from the scandals and drama that so often come with a career in show business. His long marriage and private nature spoke to a man who valued stability over celebrity. Lawrence had passed away on May 10, 2013, at the age of 90. His death marked the quiet departure of a man who had been a part of television's golden age. Even if he rarely stood in its brightest light, he remains a reminder that while stars may capture our attention, it's often the steady hands in the background that make the magic truly believable. Liam Dunn was born on November 12, 1916, in New Jersey. With his wiry frame, high energy, and knack for looking perpetually exasperated, Liam became one of Hollywood's favorite character actors, specializing in the kind of frantic, lovable authority figures who could make any scene twice as funny. In The Partridge Family, Liam appeared as Mr. Newmeyer and a salesman, roles that allowed him to showcase his signature style of comic frustration. Though his appearances were brief, they left a lasting impression, injecting scenes with a frantic energy that only he could deliver. His timing was impeccable, and his slightly bewildered demeanor made the Partridge Family's adventures feel even more delightfully chaotic. Liam's talents found their perfect match when he worked with Mel Brooks, appearing in legendary comedies like Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, and Silent Movie. Audiences loved him because he seemed so real, the poor man caught in absurd situations, struggling to maintain dignity in a world spinning out of control. Off-screen, Liam was known as a kind and hardworking actor, deeply respected by those he worked with. His life wasn't filled with scandal or controversy, but with a deep love for the craft of making people laugh. Tragically, Liam Dunn's life was cut short when he passed away on April 11, 1976, at the age of 59 due to emphysema. His death came at a time when his star was still very much on the rise, leaving fans and colleagues to mourn not just the man, but all the laughter he had yet to share. Though gone too soon, Liam Dunn's spirit lives on in the bursts of laughter he continues to inspire with every frazzled look and perfectly delivered line. Ken Swofford was born on July 25, 1933, in DuQuoin, Illinois. With his rugged features, deep voice, and commanding presence, Ken built a career playing tough guys, authority figures, and the occasional villain, the kind of roles that demanded a natural strength few actors could deliver so convincingly. On The Partridge Family, Ken appeared as a coach and a character named Monty, bringing a firm and sometimes gruff energy to the show's otherwise lighthearted world. Even in small appearances, Ken had the ability to make his characters feel real, giving them weight and complexity that elevated every scene he was part of. Outside of The Partridge Family, Ken Swofford became a familiar face across television throughout the 60s, 70s, and 80s. He had recurring roles on shows like Fame, The Andrus Targets, and Murder, She Wrote, often portraying men of authority grappling with the darker shades of life. Unlike many of Hollywood's leading men, Ken built his legacy not on glamour, but on a raw, relatable humanity. Off-screen, Ken led a colorful and sometimes tumultuous life. Known for his intensity both in front of and behind the camera, he also faced personal challenges, including struggles with alcoholism, battles he later spoke about with refreshing honesty, hoping his story might help others find their way back from darkness. Ken Swofford passed away on November 1st, 2018, at the age of 85. His death marked the end of a long, storied career filled with performances that brought grit, tension, and sometimes unexpected tenderness to television and film. In a world that often rewards flash over substance, Ken Swafford was a reminder that real strength comes from authenticity, and that sometimes the toughest characters carry the deepest scars. William Wintersole was born on July 30th, 1931, in Portsmouth, Ohio. Though not a household name, William built a remarkable career as one of television's most dependable character actors, slipping seamlessly into roles that made shows feel authentic and alive. In The Partridge Family, he appeared as a club manager and later as Dr. Kessler, bringing a calm authority to his scenes. His performances, while subtle, added a grounding presence to the often high-spirited adventures of the Partridge Family. His face may not have been on the posters, but his characters helped shape the believable world the family traveled through. Beyond the Partridge Family, William Wintersole had a long and steady career. He became best known for his roles on soap operas like The Young and The Restless, where he played Mitchell Sherman for over 20 years, and appearances in classics like Star Trek and I Dream of Jeannie. William was a true working actor, someone who found pride not in fame, but in the quiet craftsmanship of his work. Off-screen, William lived a life free from the chaos and scandal often associated with Hollywood. His dedication to his family and his passion for acting carried him through decades in an industry that often forgets its most dependable performers. On November 5, 2019, William Wintersole passed away at the age of 88. His death marked the loss of a man who may never have chased the spotlight, but who left a lasting impact through the steady, humble excellence of his craft. William's life is a tribute to all those actors who served the story first, quietly helping to build the magic without ever demanding the applause. Bill Zucker was born on December 18, 1915, in New York City. With a deep, commanding voice and a rugged presence, Bill became one of those actors you might not name immediately, but whose face and sound you would always recognize. He brought an old-school toughness to his roles, rooted in a generation that valued hard work, grit, and authenticity. In The Partridge Family, Bill appeared as Dwight and as the captain, portraying authority figures that helped give the show a sense of structure amidst its colorful, free-spirited energy. Though his roles were small, Bill's steady performances added depth and a sense of reality to the Partridge's adventures, grounding the fantasy with a touch of the real world. Bill's career extended far beyond The Partridge Family. Over decades, he made appearances in countless television shows including Star Trek, Gunsmoke, Perry Mason, and Bonanza, often playing sheriffs, judges, or season leaders. His unmistakable voice even made its way into radio, where he first honed his craft before television ever entered American homes. Off-screen, Bill lived a modest life compared to the often turbulent stories of Hollywood's flashier stars. He remained dedicated to acting until the very end, a true craftsman who valued the work over the fame it could bring. Bill Zucker passed away on January 23, 1997, at the age of 81. His death closed a chapter on a long career that helped shape the golden era of American television, even if his name never appeared in bright lights. In the end, Bill Zucker was part of the invisible framework that made so many classic shows possible, a reminder that sometimes the strongest performances are the ones that quietly support everyone else. Pat Harrington Jr. was born on August 13, 1929, in New York City, following in the footsteps of his entertainer father. With an easy smile, quick wit, and a gift for accents and comic timing, Pat built a career as one of television's most beloved character actors. In The Partridge Family, Pat appeared in memorable guest roles, playing characters like Harry and Roger Harper. His natural ability to bring humor and warmth to even the briefest appearances helped light up the screen, adding a playful spirit that fit perfectly into the Partridge Family's world. Pat's true fame came later with his iconic role as Schneider, the lovable, wisecracking building superintendent on One Day at a Time. It was a role that won him both an Emmy and a Golden Globe, and one that cemented him as a household name. Audiences loved him not just for his humor, but for the vulnerability and heart he always managed to sneak beneath the jokes. Off-screen, Pat Harrington Jr. was known as a devoted family man and a generous colleague. His career spanned decades, marked by a rare blend of humility and humor that made him deeply respected by everyone who knew him. Though he largely avoided scandal, in his later years he battled Alzheimer's disease, a slow and painful decline that saddened the many fans who had grown up laughing at his characters. Pat Harrington Jr. passed away on January 6, 2016, at the age of 86. His death marked the loss of not just a great comic actor, but a man whose warmth, humor, and humanity had touched countless lives. Pat's legacy is one of laughter, kindness, and a reminder that sometimes the funniest characters are the ones closest to our own hearts. C. Lindsay Workman was born on March 6, 1924, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. With his soft-spoken voice and kindly demeanor, he became a familiar, comforting presence across television screens, often playing doctors, managers, and authority figures who offered calm guidance amidst the chaos around them. On The Partridge Family, he portrayed a hotel manager and a warden, roles that perfectly suited his style, bringing a grounded, believable warmth to the show's playful, musical world. Though his parts were small, his ability to inhabit these everyday figures made him a quiet but essential part of the series' texture. Beyond The Partridge Family, Lindsay Workman appeared in a vast array of television classics. From Dragnet and Perry Mason to The Twilight Zone and Mission Impossible, his voice became just as famous as his face, often lending narration to commercials and industrial films. He was the kind of actor who gave shows their depth, making the extraordinary seem ordinary and the fantastical feel real. Off-screen, Lindsay was known as a true gentleman. Far removed from the scandals that so often engulf Hollywood, he lived a life marked by professionalism, modesty, and kindness. He simply loved his craft, and it showed in every word, every gesture, every small but meaningful moment he delivered on screen. C. Lindsay Workman passed away on April 24, 2012, at the age of 88. His death quietly closed the curtain on a career that had helped build the invisible world of television, the background fabric against which brighter stars could shine. Though he rarely sought the spotlight, Lindsay's work endures, a reminder that the heart of a story often beats strongest in the places we least expect. Gerald Heiken was born on May 27, 1927, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. With a quiet intensity and an actor's intuition for detail, Gerald built a long and respected career, bringing ordinary men to life with extraordinary depth. In The Partridge Family, he appeared as Dr. Bernie Applebaum, one of the many colorful figures the Partridges met on their journey. Even in a short role, Gerald brought a sincerity that made his character feel fully real, a man with a story all his own, even if the audience only glimpsed it for a moment. Outside of The Partridge Family, Gerald Heiken had a rich career in theater, film, and television. He was nominated for a Tony Award for his role in Strider and made memorable appearances in shows like Kojak, The Twilight Zone, and Cheers. Unlike many performers chasing stardom, Gerald's love was always for the work itself. He believed in the power of storytelling, whether on the grand stage of Broadway or the small frame of a TV screen. Off-screen, Gerald lived a thoughtful, private life, staying mostly out of the glare of Hollywood gossip. He found his happiness not in fame, but in the steady fulfillment of a craft well-practiced. Gerald Heiken passed away on January 6, 2021, at the age of 93. His death marked the end of a life dedicated not to celebrity, but to the quiet artistry that makes television and theater so deeply human. Though he rarely stood center stage, Gerald's contribution was vital, a reminder that behind every great story are the quiet craftsmen who make us believe in the world they create. Robert B. Williams was born on September 23, 1904, in Glencoe, Illinois. With his rugged features and steady presence, Robert spent decades in Hollywood, becoming one of those essential but often overlooked actors, the kind who made every scene feel just a little more real without ever demanding the spotlight. In the Partridge Family, he played characters like Mr. Busby and Otis Buttram, roles that fit his style perfectly, whether playing a neighbor, a businessman, or a small-town figure. Robert had a natural ability to inhabit everyday characters, giving the show a sense of lived-in authenticity. Long before the Partridge Family, Robert B. Williams had already built a remarkable career. He appeared in a string of classic films, often portraying sheriffs, managers, and working-class men who were the backbone of small-town America. His face was familiar to audiences who might not have known his name, but instantly recognized the honesty he brought to the screen. Off-screen, Robert lived a quiet, unassuming life, far from the glitz and gossip of Hollywood's front pages. Like many great character actors of his era, he found fulfillment not in fame, but in the work, the quiet satisfaction of bringing stories to life. Robert B. Williams passed away on June 17, 1978, at the age of 69. His departure marked the loss of one of television's and film's most dependable supporting players, a man who added depth to every project he touched without ever overshadowing the story itself. In remembering Robert B. Williams, we honor the countless actors whose names may fade from memory, but whose work lives on, quiet, steady, and essential to the worlds we love. Brian O'Byrne was born on February 6, 1931, in El Paso, Texas, with a soft-spoken manner and a genuine warmth that shone through every performance. Brian became one of Hollywood's most dependable character actors, the kind of face audiences instinctively trusted. In the Partridge Family, Brian appeared as Father and Mr. Kowalik, playing characters who added a quiet depth to the show's lively, music-filled atmosphere. Even in brief appearances, Brian had the rare ability to make a character feel fully human, someone who had a life and a heart beyond the few lines of dialogue they were given. Beyond the Partridge Family, Brian O'Byrne built a respected career through television and film. He appeared in classics like Chinatown, The Waltons, and The Rockford Files, never one to seek fame for fame's sake. He was known for choosing roles that allowed him to create real, relatable characters, people who stayed with audiences long after the credits rolled. Off-screen, Brian was a thoughtful, introspective man who found joy in the art of storytelling rather than the glitter of celebrity. His humility and kindness earned him the quiet admiration of his peers, even if he rarely made headlines. Brian O'Byrne passed away on December 4, 2009, at the age of 78. His death marked the loss of one of those rare talents who didn't need a starring role to make an unforgettable impact. Brian's life reminds us that true greatness in acting often lies not in commanding the stage, but in serving the story, making the world of a show or a film feel just a little more real, a little more heartfelt. The Partridge Family was more than just a television show. It was a bright, musical, colorful dream that offered a generation of viewers a moment of escape, a feeling of togetherness. A reminder that even in a world filled with chaos, there could be laughter, music, and love. For a few golden years, it felt as if that multicolored bus could drive forever, carrying a family and a nation toward endless sunny days. But time moves forward, and behind the songs and smiles were real people, each with their own private journeys, private battles, and private dreams. Some of those journeys ended in success, others in heartbreak. Some found peace after the fame faded, while others struggled to find their place once the cameras stopped rolling. Fame gave them everything, but it also took much in return. As we remember the actors we spoke about today, from the glittering star power of David Cassidy to the quiet strength of William Wintersole, from the mischievous spark of Arte Johnson to the steady hands of Robert B. Williams, we honor more than their performances. We honor their lives, their stories, and their bravery in sharing their talents with the world, knowing that it often came at a deep personal cost. Each actor, whether they played a main character or appeared for just a few moments, helped build the magic that made the Partridge Family unforgettable. Without them, the music would have sounded a little less sweet, the laughter a little less bright. They filled the spaces between the songs with humanity, with complexity, with truth. And in doing so, they became part of something timeless. Some found other successes beyond the show. Some faded quietly into private lives, away from the lights. Some faced tragedies that would never make headlines, but were no less real. And some, even in their last years, remained grateful simply for having been a part of something that brought joy to millions. The Partridge Family may have ended long ago, but its spirit endures in the songs, in the laughter, and most importantly, in the memories of those who created it. Today, we remember them not just as actors, but as human beings, each carrying their own dreams, fears, and hopes into a spotlight that could be both dazzling and cruel. Thank you for joining us on this journey back in time. If you want to hear more stories about the real lives behind the roles you loved, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. There are many more tales to tell, and many more memories waiting to be honored, because behind every smile on the screen is a story worth remembering.